The top 50 biggest football stadiums in the world is a little bit hard to define because what is a football stadium? Every NFL or rugby stadium could in theory host football, so we've only included stadiums with a permanent football tenant, with one or two exceptions. So here are the top 50 biggest football stadiums in the world. Oh, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm talking about association football, the one with the spherical ball. We start off with the largest football-specific stadium in Asia. The Seoul World Cup Stadium was built for the 2002 World Cup. The roof was designed to resemble a traditional Korean kite. This Iranian stadium is home to a team with a rather peculiar name, Tractor. Yes, the team's called Tractor. It was founded by the Iran Tractor Manufacturing Company. King Fahd International Stadium features one of the world's biggest roofs, which covers most seats, but doesn't do the players any good considering the sun can sometimes be directly overhead. Morumbi Stadium is one of those stadiums that's just a big circle with no roofs. That's just, well, there's not much to say about it. This design seems to be fairly popular in South America for some reason. Baluran Stadium is located on the island of Borneo and is apparently Indonesia's first ever all-seater stadium. Puskás Arena is Hungary's sleek, new, expensive national stadium. It's named after the former Hungarian player Ferenc Puskás, who captained the national team during Hungarian football's golden age. Stade Velodrome, as the name suggests, was originally used for cycling as well as football. But eventually people realized that you don't need to visit a stadium to watch cyclists when you can just see them on the way to work. Wanda Metropolitano is currently enjoying the temporary title of Madrid's largest stadium, given that the other one is a construction site. The original stadium was built for the 1997 World Athletics Championships, which were eventually awarded to Athens. Gazprom Arena was built for the 2018 World Cup. It features a retractable roof and a retractable pitch. The design is supposed to resemble a spaceship, which, to be fair, it does. Well, at least what we think a spaceship would look like. I've never actually seen one. Lumen Field is a beautifully designed stadium that's big, has plenty of covered seating, but still has that open air feel, and also gives you a nice view of the Seattle skyline. The Olympia Stadium in Munich had a design that was ahead of its time when it was built for the 1972 Olympics. It still looks fairly modern today, and although it no longer plays a major part in world football, it was once home to Munich's two biggest teams. Baku National Stadium is the seldom used national stadium of Azerbaijan. The stadium looks quite spectacular when lit up. I particularly like the interior walls. Seoul Olympic Stadium initially had a capacity of around 100,000 when it was built for the 1988 Summer Olympics. It's now a lot smaller and it's looking a little dated, but what it lacks in its looks, it makes up for with its soul. But like, spelt with an E, like, so it's like Seoul the city. Because, yeah. Olimpijski National Sports Complex was designed to be able to host the Olympics. Whether that happens or not, let's face it, probably not, it's still a top-notch football stadium. And now a stadium of monumental proportions, Estadio Monumental Antonio Vespuccio Liberty, has a long name, and it also is just a big circle with no roofs. There's not much else to say about the design. Stadio Olimpico, no prizes for translating that name, hosted the Olympics in 1960 and was then rebuilt for the 1990 World Cup, where it hosted the final. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is perhaps the most technologically advanced stadium on this list. With its pinwheel-style retractable roof, it looks freaking cool. What else can I say? International Stadium Yokohama is a perfectly fine stadium, but I think you would need at least a 7-iron to get from the seats to the pitch. Seriously, this stadium could probably host NASCAR races if it wanted to. This stadium looks good, but it cost $900 million, which was 3 times the budget, and it now hosts 2 lower-level teams that barely attract a crowd large enough to fill a lecture hall, let alone one of the world's top 50 biggest football stadiums. This stadium truly is the whitest of elephants. Now, Principality Stadium is more of a rugby stadium. I wasn't sure if I should include it. It hosted an FA Cup final, but the Welsh football team doesn't even play there anymore. Well, it does sometimes for exhibition matches. No, get out of here. You're a rugby stadium. Now on to Berlin's Olympiastadion, which has a bit of a dodgy history, but putting that aside, from an architectural standpoint, the grandiose design really sets it apart from the other stadiums on this list. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Actually, scratch that. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as Michael Jackson once said. Nagshe Jahan. Oh, that wasn't so hard. Nagshe Jahan Stadium. Oh. Let's just move on. Cairo International Stadium is fresh off a bit of a makeover. And what a difference a lick of paint, or new seats in this case, can make. I really like those orange and blue seats. Athens Olympic Stadium, also known as Spiros Louis after the first winner of the Olympic marathon, who, by the way, he overtook an Australian in the late stages of the race, who was a short distance runner and had never even run a marathon before, and thought, oh yeah, I'll have a crack, and nearly won. The Olympics was super amateur back then. Anyway, it's a nice stadium. Allianz Arena is home to one of the most dominant teams in the world right now. It looks fairly plain and simple by day, but at night time it can light up all the colours of the rainbow, and more. There are a lot of colours, you know. I thought that I had discovered a brand new colour once, but apparently it already exists. It's called teal, apparently. I'd never heard of it. Nice colour. Old Trafford is, as its name suggests, quite old. I wonder if they demolished it and built a new one in its place, would it be called Old Trafford, even if it's brand new? Or New Trafford? Or New Old Trafford? It's not even worth the hassle. Let's just keep it. Ataturk Olympic Stadium was originally built for Turkey's failed bid for the 2008 Olympics. One of the downsides to this stadium is, sitting in the top row, you're actually watching the game 3 seconds in the past, due to the delay for light to travel that distance. Gelora Bung Karno Stadium is home to Indonesia's most successful team, Persija Jakarta. But not for long. There's a new state-of-the-art stadium being built in Jakarta as we speak. Or, as I speak, you haven't said a word this entire video. Azadi Stadium was built to host the 1974 Asian Games, and has remained as Iran's national stadium ever since. The Maracana is one of the most famous football stadiums in the world. It was opened for the 1950 World Cup and hosted the final, in which just a casual 199,854 people showed up. The capacity is now a more spacious 78,838. Hangzhou Sports Park Stadium is quite spectacular, to be honest. But why do they keep building these new stadiums with athletics capabilities? I mean, don't get me wrong, I like running, and pole vault's kinda cool. Hammer throw is okay, albeit a bit misleading, but you're not going to get anywhere near a capacity crowd for athletics. And now a stadium I'm sure you're all familiar with, having watched the recent 2020 Olympics. Man, what an Olympics that was! I really enjoyed watching that Jamaican fella win the 100 meters. And man, when that Kenyan won the marathon, that was brilliant. Anyway, this stadium is made from wood, taken from almost every one of Japan's prefectures, which is like a state or a province. Stade des Martyrs can apparently fit 125,000 people for league matches, but we'll stick with the recommended 80,000 capacity for international matches. This stadium has certainly seen better days. Guangdong Olympic Stadium is a rather interesting looking stadium. It's set to be surpassed by Guangzhou Evergrande Stadium, currently being built. The iconic San Siro is set to be demolished in the coming years. It looks like a stadium that was once a brilliant modern design, but yeah, it's looking a little bit tired. And now a stadium of monumental oh, no, we've already done that, haven't we? Yeah, this stadium reminds me a little of Lambeau Field, except I'm sure the weather is a little bit warmer. Shah Alam Stadium's design might look a little familiar to some fans. That's because the design is inspired by Croatia's Poljud Stadium. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Estadio Santiago Bernabeu is currently undergoing a renovation, the cost of which is more than most stadiums cost to build from scratch. The work is expected to be completed in 2022. Luzhniki Stadium has a name that is begging to be said in a Russian accent. The original stadium was built during Soviet times, but was largely demolished in 2013. However, the facade wall was retained and connected to the new stadium. Stade de France is the largest stadium in Europe for track and field events, and due to the retractable seating, the ground level seats are still fairly close to the action during a football match. Signal Iduna Park is famous for its intense atmosphere, probably because there's rarely an empty seat. It set the European record for average attendance in 2011-12. They averaged 80,588 per game. Stadium Australia currently doesn't have a club that plays there permanently, but there can be no doubt that it is a football stadium. Australia's national team plays there probably more than any other stadium. Salt Lake Stadium? No, it's not in Utah, but in fact Kolkata, the same city which, up until recently, had India's largest cricket stadium as well. Borg Al Arab Stadium was originally commissioned for Egypt's bid for the 2010 World Cup. Once again, they've built a huge stadium for a tournament that never eventuated. I think it's just better to wait until you're chosen, then build the huge stadium. Bukit Jalil National Stadium was built to host the 1998 Commonwealth Games. And if you don't know what that is, it's like the Olympic Games except replace America at the top of the table with Australia. And whoever comes second almost all the time with England. Estadio Azteca needs no introduction, but demands one anyway. It's hosted 2 FIFA World Cups and a Women's World Cup. Also, I'm required to say, choose Coca-Cola, because together taste better, and drink Corona, because we had nothing to do with the virus. Wembley Stadium is the famous home to England's national football team, and much like the Gherkin and the Shard, Wembley's giant arch has already become an iconic part of London's skyline. Beijing National Stadium, or the Bird's Nest, is designed to resemble, how do I put this into words? It's designed to resemble like a house for a bird, but not a birdhouse, like a natural birdhouse. Natural house for a bird. I don't know if there's a word for it, but I think you know what I mean. FNB Stadium is one of the best looking stadiums on this list in my opinion, and apparently some Russian architects agree with me, because, well, just take a look. Camp Nou is situated in the beautiful city of Barcelona, and it's home to perhaps the world's most famous football club. The design is fairly unique compared to some other top clubs in Europe, given that the seating is mostly uncovered. But it's not like it's Aberdeen or Helsinki. I'm sure Barcelona's weather isn't too bad. North Korea's pride and joy, Rungbrado 1st of May Stadium, was originally built because Kim Jong-il was jealous of South Korea hosting the 1988 Olympics. The official capacity for this stadium is 150,000, but after a remodel, it's estimated to be a little lower. It's a bit of a shame that number 1 spot goes to North Korea, but at least Barcelona fans can claim to have the largest football stadium outside of a crackpot dictatorship. So there you have it. Those are the top 50 largest football stadiums, once again the spherical football, in the world. Did I forget any? Probably. Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know which stadium is your favourite, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do. You probably won't regret it, and even if you do, it's free, who cares? Thanks for watching, have a good one.